Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to the E-100. And yeah, the E-100, the second heaviest tank in War Thunder, a rather rare reward tank, object of desire by many collectors and just fans of German tanks. And I got mine from the first tournament, and I actually didn't play it because I thought, well, it's not different to the mouse, and I don't want its stats to be ruined by the constant power creep in the game. And this is now, you know, the game gets more and more towards more and more powerful vehicles to get the players in to play them and whatnot. And I understand the concept, but a tank like the 100 that has not a lot of mobility. I mean, the top speed on paper is not bad, but the horsepower to ton ratio is 6. That's technically a little bit less than the mouse. And your armor will not always protect you. Your turret front is really weak. I mean, American heavy tanks, a full battle rating lower, have effectively stronger frontal armor than you, and it's a large big hit zone, and even small APHE shells will enter the tank and absolutely ruin your day, kill the entire crew in your turret, set off ammunition, set you on fire, kill your transmission and whatnot. Same goes for HEATFS and APDS. But when you angle correctly and you face a lot of tanks at your battle rating or low when you're top tier and you get into the right situation, you can be an absolute monster. And this is what makes it worth suffering through matches where you drive for 7 minutes up until you're at the point you are reaching the combat zone, and the first enemy that you see is a plane dropping a 1-ton bomb on you and just making you go away, and with no chance of re-entry, even if you have a tier 1 SPA, because you needed all your spawn points and you didn't get anything. And with tanks such as the British with 6.7, with the rapid firing high penetrating APDS and also the stabilizer, together with armor that you are not guaranteed to penetrate, where you have to very carefully aim with this bad gun handling and this long reload, while you are very maneuverable for counter shots. This is just a real challenge, and so you just don't go in and drive the 100 just like this. You need a few games to remember all the tricks, especially around the 75mm gun, and how to play mind games with the enemy, how to position yourself so that you make your team support you. This is a tank where you can play so many mind tricks with the enemy, where you can lure them out of cover with the 75, lay your own smoke screen, track the enemy, set them up for a killing shot, ramming them, wedging them up a wall. And I did a lot of videos about the E-100, but to be honest, I could have milked that cow concerning YouTube much more often. And I was really worried with the 100, but at some point I actually was enjoying the tank so much throughout the games, because at late games, when you survive the first 5 minutes of a match and you're still alive, and you're blocking a capture zone where there is this extremely brutal minigame where we absolutely challenge the enemy to a 1 versus 1 all the time, and they just disable your gun breach, and you just need to angle the turret, and you need the long repair, and then suddenly one of your team members comes around and just picks off the tanks that's circling around you, trying to find a weak spot, not knowing the tank. This is one of the greatest excitements of War Thunder. For the average player, this is just a big pile of frustration. But for somebody like me that knows this tank for a while, knows how the AP CBC rounds work, and especially, again, I have to mention it, the 75mm, it can be a challenge. So I want to show you a few scenes and want to comment on them, and want to show you the strengths and weaknesses, and at the end show you a really nice game that just shows what the tank can do in the right circumstances. So the first scene is, something that you expect from the E-100. Something, you're always at the right position to punish those object nano sixes, and with a double kill and hull break, it's so sweet. And now this is a a really typical situation that I have so often, and fully understanding this situation just will teach you what to expect, not just from the E-100 but also the mouse. I angle my turret and lure the tank out of position, and I test fire to see what it is. Okay, it's a French tank, maybe a Lorraine, and there is a T-54-47, and just when I wanted to fire, watch this, I penetrate the turret and just kill 2 crew members. I track him in place, and now I have to endure the full long reload while being exposed to somebody else to finish the tank off with a cupola shot. That's a medium tank at my battle rating. Meanwhile, the French tank just unloaded his magazine, not understanding that he was doing the wrong thing. But here's a problem, he tracked me. And there is my good old friend, Mr. IS-6. I buy myself into War Thunder. And of course, the shell just from the flat turret face, it bounced downward and disappeared in the void. And all my heat shells are doing nothing to his tracks. And now I have to, position myself, angle my hull and my turrets in such a way that he doesn't have a flat side. There is the T-44-100. Now I'm reloaded, and here is a massive lag spike. And this is really funny, but I just want to show you, how shit my internet is, but also that they can't really penetrate me when they're looking for the wrong shots. So they mess up their shots, not really, trying to track me and then just reversing and shooting me under the side skirts. No. And yeah, that was just typical, wasn't it? So I tracked him, and one of my buddies just finished him off in a Jagdpanther. As I said, there is an IS-3. Oi. Well, he has potentially the more threatening shell, the BR-471D, the post-war shell with 230 millimeters. But even the IS-6 with the BR-471B could do it. But the IS-3, there was no lag spike. And he gave me the side. From the front, I have so many problems with those tanks. The Frenchie is just looking, what the hell is this E-100 doing here with my French buddies? You could see all the impact holes on the side of the turret. And, I get some additional fire. I'd love to just track this guy and get him killed, but it's so dangerous to do. And now he killed my main gun out of frustration. He had to make sure that this threat never will be on him. So again, I have here a support by a Jagdpanther, and there he goes. That's the second kill for the Jagdpanther. Do you think it's easy for a Jagdpanther to kill a T-44-100 and an IS-6 like this? I survived. I repair here and can go on. So I got a lot of points for just that. But without support, I'd be dead. And please spare me your get better internet jokes. I know it's a running gag, but I'm quite sure this scene was worth showing. Another very typical scene that I have very often that people actually don't see on the internet is how you can finish off enemies with side shots. Well, there is no real secret there. You could do this, hell, even with a Panzer VF2 under such laboratory conditions. But, to push in, to, put the pressure on the enemy is something that you really can do. And this IS-6, No penetration, but the gun breach. I tried to track him, but one heat shell is not enough into Soviet tracks. But the second one, for some reason, did with some splash damage because I hit the road wheel. And now I have to run him down. So this is, again, a very similar problem like with the Walker Bulldog. And watch this. Again, no penetration right there. The gun breach absorbs it all. And I got penetrated here from the side with a shot trap, which I have no idea how I survived it. I'm down to 2 crew members, long reload, long repair, 70 seconds repair time, with an ace crew that I played for. The best possible crew, best possible repair stats and whatnot. So the IS-6 is out of the game, but watch this shot from the T-54 1947. Shot trapping works perfectly on German tanks. So finally, here is the battle that I promised. Now it's a very good example again how to play the E-100 or have some general thoughts and what can happen. Please notice that we are playing with the Russians and I have a good game. What a coincidence. Sarcasm off. Now this is again just experience throughout hundreds of games. When you play with the Russians, you just have a better time. You have better flanking support. You have just, you know, easier targets because you don't have to shoot at Russians. I think the best way to play any 100 is to queue up with Russians. Even though you might face guns that in theory are stronger, but you know, Russian guns are always good enough to kill you, which is very, very worrisome if you are in a tank that builds on armor, survivability and whatnot. So I'm going here to C. Initially I wanted to go into the middle of the city. At the last moment I noticed that there is a turret of what seems like an American tank, and I just wiggled to the side and he bounced off the side of my turret. Now there I see the first customer. Despite being that tall, I have no clear line of fire initially, and then I just wait. I see another customer, and I'm always happy to deliver a German 128mm into the crew compartment of an STB-1 dangerous tank, same battle rating, L7 gun with a stabilizer. Not very nice to fight. And you know, in this matchup, the Japanese have betrayed their German allies, and so I had to punish him. Okay, bad jokes aside, let's move on. Notice how I'm always angling the turret and looking constantly around. You know, you very often cannot react in time due to your poor gun handling, very slow turret rotation speed, and bouncing your shots is very important in the E-100, and also you make, you know, random shot traps much more unlikely, let's put it that way, than when you face your turret front directly to the enemy. So I captured the point, and I'm not quite sure what to do right now, but just in a moment we will see one glorious situation where I show you just a fraction of the big potential of the 75mm gun. So there is a tank, I retreated, I just wanted to have a look what it is. He got set on fire by some Russian quality campers on the ridgeline. And let's see what's going on there. And the Magach 3 got taken out by a T-62. I love this Russian long-range support. Not that nice to fight them, I can assure you that. So now you could see how slowly I was, you know, climbing on those steps. Now 150 tons, that's a lot. Not as much as your mom, but you know, still a lot. Oh god, that will get wild. That's gonna get wild in the comment section. Should I edit that out? Nah. Oh, movement. What is that? What is that? Ah, okay. And now I'm thinking, what can I do? So first of all, I need to go behind this stone to have, you know, a sharper arrangement of angles. Now this is, you know, when it comes to angling, repositioning, and you know, trying to fool the enemy. Now I turn out and just shoot a smoke shell, and I wanted to blind this guy, but he found a way into the right hand side of my turret where both loaders are. And he goes out, and the M103 is just looking around and just giving me the angled front of the lower plate and how it arranges the armor. This is the best shot that you can have. And so we one-shot him. Now, if you hit the hull of an enemy tank, it's generally over. It's one of the best, you know, high explosive charges within an armor-piercing shell in War Thunder. Of course, just topped by the Russians with, for example, the Object 268, which doesn't have an AP CBC round, but an AP-HE-BC round. It's the strongest AP-HE round in the game when it comes to dealing with angled armor and just eliminating the enemy with style. 152mm in caliber and faster reload at a lower battle rating with much more mobility and better armor. Just saying. If you want to have a bigger gun with better performance, play the Object 268. Or the SU-122-54. Faster reload, has everything. Heat, APDS, various different sources of APHE, mobility, sloped armor. Why play the E-100? And very often I ask it myself, but I know the answer. So I get hit from behind, I have to finish the other STB-1, and now I have to get out of the way. I have no idea where the enemy is, and somebody is shooting me from the sniper position. Now I was near the enemy spawn, which gave this T-95 the, well, possibility to hit me hard and emptying my turret. He must have shot with an IP round because my gun breech is not broken. And so now my ultimate goal is to go to the middle capture zone, which is B, and replenish my crew to 3, so I still am combat effective. So I survived a turret penetration, but you can see how long the reload is. Ooh, this is brutal. But I noticed some action on the minimap, some movement. You know, you just get your spider senses tingling if you drive a tank that often. And what is that? Well, I had a smoke shell loaded, but it still kills the commander of this Japanese, what is it, Type 60 SBR. And he hits me, but I see the outline of the shadow and hit him in the engine. But when I shoot with a heat shell and actually hit the module, no hull break. Interesting. Transmission. And I finish him off with the machine gun. I can assure you, despite having played this tank for hundreds of battles, that's a rarity. Okay, and so now I'm reversing. I need to point my gun towards the enemy and just reverse. And you know, the reverse gear, it's not terrible, but the mouse is faster, much faster. And so I need to recapture it first. So this is gonna be interesting. Now, one of the reasons why the kill to death ratio in my E-100 is actually not that bad, and on paper it looks like a very strong tank, is in late games you very often see a lot of you know, flux driving around, like to my rear. You just saw a glimpse of it, and you know, they just charge you and you can hull break them, and they cannot really deal with something like you that well. And what is that? Well, funnily enough, not a hull break, and I tried to finish him off with the machine gun again. Where is it? There it is. And yeah, that's my gun broken. I need to repair it, but you can see how long the turret needs to rotate. There is another SPA. My reload, even for the 75 now, is really long. Yeah, that's the usual bullshit situation. I noticed that this SBA wants to flank me. I cannot tell you how annoying those repair times are in an E-100. Despite the neutral steering and combining it with the turret traverse, no chance. No chance at all. Artillery strikes are actually the least of your problems in this tank, which is nice. So again, look how much time he has to just turn around, and I dunked the shell somewhere else. And he knows where to shoot. Oh, this is not good. This is not good. Oh, but he retreated. He didn't punish me. He didn't really notice the state of my tank. I dunked the shell here in into a light post, and now I'm, using my smoke shells here to my rear. Now that they hammer me is not that bad, they're overheating their guns, giving their position away and whatnot. Now both guns are out of action. Now I have to angle myself against this, I guess it's a Magach 3. Now there are tanks of my team that now had enough time to move on, but look at this! 50 seconds repair time, 60 seconds repair time. There is nothing that I can do. And those SBAs, they cannot do a lot of damage to me, but my machine gun is still operational and still, reducing their crew, giving me kill assists. All this gives me spawn points and silver lines, research points, hence why I put a talisman on this. It's actually not a bad tank for researching, at least it was. Not quite so sure about how it is today. Now, first when the T-64A came out, and the first wave of the more modern MBTs, they were at 8.7, I guess. I don't quite remember. They were shifted around with the battle rating a lot. I had to face them. It's not nice to face those things with their speed and firepower and whatnot. Oh, that was a big bomb. And now I, do my crew replenish, and with the damage tracks and everything blown off, now it just took me 36 seconds to repair. Go figure, Gaijin magic programming. It makes no goddamn sense that I need less time to repair more damaged stuff. I take it. This is a fully aced tank, and the amount of hammering and beating that I took was quite remarkable, and I'm up to 3 crew members again, so I have now, I guess, a 20-second reload on the main gun, 18.3 I guess with an ace crew, but it's really the 75 that is really important. Now without the 75mm, the entire tank would be worthless in my opinion. There are so many tanks where you just have to aim for this and that pixel to penetrate. Granted, when you penetrate, then it's mostly game over, unless you hit the engine section, in which case the M103 AP is just superior to just gut an enemy tank from the rear to the front. So it's its own mini game, playing around caps and just forcing the enemy to come to you and to just enjoy this fight. And situational awareness is something very important. Now a tank shot and there is no marker, so it must be an enemy. Now if this shooting was wise to alarm this enemy tank potentially to my presence, if that was the wisest thing to do, I'm not quite sure. Nevertheless, now I committed to the attack, but again I'm in a very awkward situation. I am technically behind enemy lines, and I'm showing my side to the enemy spawn, and you could see on the rear section of my left side the, how should I say, the side skirt is gone. It's quote unquote just 120mm of side armor. Now I'm much more vulnerable than with the side skirts. So yeah, it's then a situation that makes you very much more uncomfortable. Now how to engage the enemy tank, I'm not quite sure where to go. In retrospect, I should have turned to the right and then turned around to face the enemy from the rear. And I know that there is a tank, and somebody pings the minimap, but I'm not quite sure how accurate pinging on the minimap is. But nevertheless, I investigate. And again, I'm listening. I'm listening. What's there? An artillery strike is coming around. Now I have to really be a bit careful with the tree just smacking down. Okay. And there it is. There is the enemy tank. There is the enemy tank. And he's waiting for me to come around the corner, but I think he has overlooked the gap here in the wall. And isn't that a nice cupola? And isn't your gun breech now damaged? So I tried to damage the gun further with the 75, but he actually blows himself up with that shot, giving me my 6th kill. And these days you can actually be thankful for that being a kill and not just the enemy tank randomly blowing itself up, despite you being the cause of the damage. I played with Impleed in a stream recently, and it was really worrisome when you saw, you know, those low tier French tanks, the B1, and you just hammered the enemy tank, somebody else got the kill and you got nothing for it, despite killing crew, tracking him, and doing other damage. So I think this is a issue that Gaijin should really hurry to address, but you know, I'm not quite sure how high it is in their list of priorities. I mean, gameplay in a gameplay. Wow. Who would have thought that this would be important one day? And yeah, that's practically the game from start to finish. It was again quite remarkable. It was not the match with the most kills and with the most run over the enemy team that I had. I think this is reserved for somebody else. I might give you then a shout out if he makes a video about it. So 50,000 silver lines and 10,000 research points with the survivor medal. Please notice that I'm also first in team with 2,841 score points, despite just having 1 cap, 1 assist and 6 kills with no aircraft being involved. And yeah, the tank also has a talisman. So high tier income, even with that kind of a match, not the best. That's it for me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you did, and let me know if you want to see more of the E-100. Please also notice that I have done a lot of older videos on the E-100 with gameplay and a 3-part tank review on it. So if you want to know everything about this tank, this is the way to check it out. For all the others, again, thanks for watching, and we'll see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.